I just want to give a trigger warning before this episode starts. This episode will discuss suicide, so decide if or when you wish to listen. And if you are contemplating suicide, you're not alone. Call, text, or chat with someone 24/7 at the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by dialing 988 or go to 988lifeline.org. There are resources in the description box for you. On March 26, 1997, police entered a quiet mansion in an affluent suburb of San Diego after receiving an anonymous tip requesting a welfare check. When a lone deputy stepped through the side door of the 9,200 square foot home, he was hit with what he would later describe as a pungent odor, the unmistakable scent of death. A cursory search revealed 39 bodies laid out in identical rows. Their faces were covered, but officers could see that they were dressed uniformly. All black tracksuits, brand new Nike sneakers, and arm patches that read, "Away Team." The media called it a mass suicide. But when the souls who once inhabited those bodies drank applesauce laced with vodka and barbiturates, they did not believe they were dying. They believed they were boarding a spacecraft hidden behind the Hale Bopp comet as it passed by Earth. Today on Let's Get Haunted, we're diving into the dark history and the very real present of Heaven's Gate. Because what most people don't realize is that Heaven's Gate never actually ended.
Welcome back to Let's Get Haunted with your hosts,
Nat Strawn
and Allie. Welcome back, Haunties, to episode 258 of Let's Get Haunted. We are your hosts, Nat and Allie, and we're very excited to be with you every single Wednesday here on Spotify. That's right. If you would like to watch the video version of this week's episode, head over to Spotify. And by the way, if you have Spotify Premium, you don't get any ads on your episodes, which is just a fun fact in case you weren't aware. But I am so excited because I know a tiny bit about Heaven's Gate, but it's like very casual, like you're scrolling on Facebook or Instagram Reels or TikTok or Reddit, and maybe you see a photo or maybe you see like a little blurb, but I have never watched a documentary about this. I've never read a book about this, and I've certainly never listened to a deep dive on a podcast about this. So I am very interested. We don't often do true crime on this show, and this is the kind of true crime story that I think really fits within our genre.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, Allie, because you are a SoCal native, if you have actually heard of the neighborhood where this all went down, Rancho Santa Fe, the suburb of San Diego. Really? No.
San Diego's a little too far south. I feel like anything south of Redondo, I'm so not familiar with.
This just sounds like a skit of the Californians right now.
If you take the 405 to the 110 to the 10 to the 5 to the 2, you'll be at Dodger Stadium, and I don't go past Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, I have a little, actually very interesting anecdote about Rancho Santa Fe and a time that I went to a home there and what went down in that home. However, I'm going to save that for the end of the episode because I know we might have some new listeners joining us today. I just wanted to introduce very quickly what our show is about. Each week we tell spooky stories. Every Wednesday we switch off. So this time it's my turn to tell Allie a spooky story, and she has no idea what I'm about to talk about. I didn't prep her about this at all. So she just heard the hook that you guys just heard. And then she had a little of her own knowledge about the topic. And now I am about to lay down some knowledge on her about Heaven's Gate. And it's interesting that you said, oh, you know, this is a true crime story, because I guess you could call it murder. I guess you could call it murder-suicide. I guess you could call it a mass tragedy. I guess you could call it a million different things, but it's so much deeper than that. And when I started researching this, I was just expecting to find like, oh, you know, just a bunch of crazy people and like a charismatic cult leader who like took advantage of people and, you know, took everything from them and brainwashed them into killing themselves. And yes, that is one side of the coin, but it's actually so much more fascinating than that. And I am so excited to share it with you because there are aliens, there are possible ghosts, there's sci-fi, there's all kinds of weird things in this. So let's get into it. In the mid-1990s, a man named Marshall Applewhite and a woman named Bonnie Nettles convinced 38 people to ascend to another dimension by leaving their bodies behind. According to the beliefs held by Heaven's Gate, once their souls were free of their physical containers, they would be able to carpool on an alien spaceship concealed by a comet nearing planet Earth. It was simple, really. All they had to do was take their own lives and board the ship. Their destination would be something Applewhite referred to as Tela, the evolutionary level above human, sometimes lovingly referred to as the next level. Once at Tela, they would be able to access a spacecraft as it flies behind the Hale Bopp comet. Now you might be asking yourself, what was Tela like? Why did they want to go there? What's the point of leaving the body behind? The evolutionary level above human was not an idealized concept to Heaven's Gate. Instead, it was a physical, corporeal place within our universe where inhabitants live without pain, in pure bliss, and are nourished by absorbing pure sunlight. While in Tela, beings did nothing mammalian or human-like. They did not eat, die, or engage in sexual intercourse. There's a lot of history that goes into this particular cult, and so this could be multiple episodes. I have distilled down what I think is the most interesting and the least talked about, but also the most iconic points of Heaven's Gate. It's just like if you were to take anyone's life and distill it down into an hour or an hour and 20 minutes, you wouldn't be able to hit every single point. So I have taken in a lot of media that talks about the history of Heaven's Gate and how Applewhite was raised in a certain situation and his dad was a minister and he had his own beliefs about sexuality that perhaps he was repressing, and so that's where a lot of the ideas come from. But then at the same time, as someone who I guess could be considered gay, I'm a bisexual, I fucking hate that narrative where it's oh yeah, you just repressed your sexuality so you became a murderer. I feel like it's a backwards way of pearl clutching, if that makes sense. Of oh yes, the gay people repress their sexuality and they're led to murder. It's I hate that. Yeah, there's lots of different beliefs and they kind of melded over time because they started off this cult, so-called cult, they would never call it a cult, in the 70s. And it kind of started with Nettles and Applewhite just going around in a car and giving these sermons, I guess you could call them, or meetings, and just getting people together and talking about stuff. I mean, you could even say, let's get haunted as a cult, and they had followers, people who were interested in talking about kooky things that weren't accepted in the mainstream media. And there was no gun to your head, hey, by the way, we're all going to put on Nikes and kill ourselves. It was just hey, what if there are aliens out there and things we don't understand? And what if consciousness lives outside the body? And there was a movement going on at the time because Chariots of the Gods, which was this book that was released in 1971 by Eric von Daniken, was very popular, and it kind of popularized the idea of ancient aliens. And we know that shit fucking grips you, right? You hear about ancient aliens the first time and you will never be the same. Okay, so sure. I totally get it.
It's very buzzy. Because immediately you're thinking about Alexander the Great in battle with a UFO hovering over his head, or you're thinking of the ancient Egyptians being given a secret schematic and secret technology to build these beautiful pyramids and structures that still exist today. Yeah, it's very buzzworthy for sure.
Yeah, and so as Applewhite and Nettles, learned their own things about life and kind of got away more from their roots, because Applewhite was born in 1931 in Texas to a minister. So when he got away from that, yeah, he, became a scholar. He went on to be a professor at a school. He joined the theater department. allegedly there may not have been some relations with young men who were of age and also in the theater department, and allegedly he may or may not have had a psychotic break and been into a hospital at some point. But like, I also don't think that's that unheard of. As someone who has had similar experiences, I have never been a professor or like hooked up with my students, but I don't know. I'm not ready to like totally discount the guy like this early in the episode. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying is that we can't just immediately write him off as a villain because of these like talking points that actually a lot of people experience throughout their adolescence and young adulthood.
Yes.
And they don't end up being murderers. So, like, this is not the reason why he did what he did. This is just, like, bullet points in the timeline of his life. I totally get that because, I mean, it's a trope, but it's true. The more strict of a household you're raised in, usually once you finally are able to break free and live on your own, you want to experiment with different things. I mean, I can relate to that, certainly. My first time away from my strict household, and I have very loving parents, so, you know, not saying anything about that, but I was raised in a very strict, like, your bedtime is 10 p.m., you know, you can't, if you're going to go out, I need to know the address of where you're going, I need the phone number of the person you're going to be with. And so when I went to college, I just remember it being such a culture shock because my first night in the dorms, I asked the RA, like, what time will my key card stop working on the building at night to, like, get back in? Like, what's the curfew? And the RA was so confused. They were like, there is no curfew. And I just remember being so shell-shocked, like, what? And so, you know, for the first few weeks of school, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go to IHOP at 2 a.m. I'm going to pull an all-nighter. I'm going to, like, you know, jump in the fountain in the middle of campus at 3 in the morning. You know, just all these things because you're trying to get it out of your system because you've never been able to do it before. So, yeah, I see what you're saying is that we can't write him off yet. I'm sure you'll get to some sketchy stuff in the future, but right now it just sounds like fairly normal, angsty, first time out of your parents' house vibes.
Scholars have described the beliefs of Heaven's Gate as a blend of Christianity, New Age, ufology, and some have even characterized Heaven's Gate theology as a UFO religion.
Oh, interesting. I don't think I knew that it was UFO based. I knew that they thought they were going to get on a UFO eventually, but for some reason I didn't make the connection that that would be like a core tenet of their belief system.
Dude, they were actually so into aliens, and like while I was researching this, I was like, look, I feel like Allie is gonna be like very like anti this, but at the same time is like not is like gonna be unable to like not be like, okay, this is actually kind of fucking tight though. Okay, so let me just get into what it is. We are not here today to debate whether or not religious theology, ideology, dogma, or themes are valid or not. We're here to get haunted, guys. So in order to get haunted, we need to understand the beliefs behind Heaven's Gate, which are: 1, God is an alien. Okay, it's actually deeper than that, but I have distilled this down into digestible information. God is an alien. And these are also the end times that are happening right now. There's an apocalypse. It's just around the corner. Catastrophic event. It's going to happen. The end times are here. But fear not, because you have found the right group. Okay? This group knows how to escape the end times. If you are left here on Earth during the end times, it's going to be bad. According to Heaven's Gate, they believe that there's going to be a great reset where Earth is going to be consumed by evil space aliens called the Luciferians, who had already tricked human Earthlings into believing that they were God. So it's even more complicated than God is an alien, because there's also other aliens who are saying they are God, who are not God. Well, they are God, but they're bad, okay? So there's bad God and there's good God.
Good God.
All right? And the Luciferians are believed, because they're aliens, to be technologically advanced, able to fake miracles with holograms, have access to spacecraft, space-time travel, telepathy, and they have super long lifespans. Heaven's Gate believed that all existing religions on Earth had already been corrupted by the evil aliens. That left all humans to suffer through a hellscape where they would be fighting a losing battle to these evil aliens on Earth. Now, Applewhite and Nettles themselves taught their devotees, quote, aliens planted the seeds of current humanity millions of years ago and have come to reap the harvest of their work in the form of spiritually evolved individuals who will join the ranks of flying saucer crews. Only a select few members of humanity will be chosen to advance to the transhuman state. The rest will be left to wallow in the spiritually poisoned atmosphere of a corrupt world. End quote. So those who followed the Heaven's Gate belief system would be granted escape from the human suffering. And Applewhite and Nettles went around all of America passing out flyers for what was then called the human individual metamorphosis. It wasn't Heaven's Gate yet. And I'm going to show you what a flyer looks like here.
Okay.
So if you guys would like to see the image that I'm showing Allie and you don't have video access, you got to get Spotify Premium, watch on video, or you can go to Instagram where we also do a photo dump after the episode goes live where we will post media.
Yes. So Nat is showing me an aged, wrinkled, black and white photo of a flyer. And the flyer is clearly handwritten. So I don't want people to picture in their mind's eye a computer-generated image or something that was typed out on a typewriter or something professionally done. No, this looks like somebody had a piece of paper and a Sharpie and they just went for it. So this is what it says. UFOs, why they are here, who they have come for, when they will leave. Not a discussion of UFO sightings or phenomena. 2 individuals say they were sent from the level above human and will return to that level in a spaceship UFO within the next few months. This man and woman will discuss how the transition from the human level to the next level is accomplished and when this may be done. This is not a religious or philosophical organization recruiting membership. However, the information has already prompted a number of individuals to devote their total energy to the transitional process. If you have ever entertained the idea that there might be a real physical level in space beyond the Earth's confines, you will want to attend this meeting. Sunday, September 14th, 1975, 2 p.m. at Bayshore Inn in Waldport, Oregon. And then it says AVG in the corner, or somebody kind of doodled what looks like a tornado or something. It could just also be marks from other documents being left on this, like transferring onto this, because it looks old.
Mm-hmm.
But this is interesting because I feel like in modern times, if you're going to make a flyer, it has to be colorful and have more pictures than words, or else people are just going to walk right by it. But this one is only words.
It's actually like, I feel really gripping. It gets your attention. It communicates right away like what this is, but also leaves you wanting more. So you're like, actually, this is insane and I don't know what it is. But the person who wrote this seems like they're somewhat coherent. So, like, what are they talking about? I want to go find out.
Yeah, this is my pet peeve, though, where people put an apostrophe S when they actually just want to put an S. Like, UFOs plural, you don't need an apostrophe. That bothers me.
Are you a grammar cop?
It bothers me. It bothers me when I see stuff like that. I can't help it.
Do you know how long it took to make a carrot? The Big Bang had to happen. Stars exploding, minerals form, soil develops, prebiotics, probiotics, evolution, agriculture, civilization, society as we know it, language. And then someone invented the concept of a carrot. And now I'm supposed to what? Saute that? I have like 80 years left on this planet, if I'm lucky. And I'm not gonna spend that making gourmet meals. And I know it's gourmet because I'm trying to watch the entire franchise of Fast and the Furious in one afternoon. You think I have time to saute? First of all, I would have to go buy a dish. I'm not doing that. That's where Factor comes in. Factor sends you fully prepared, actually nutritious meals, like real food, not a girl dinner. All you have to do is heat it up and eat it. 2 minutes and you're done. No grocery store, no chopping, no Googling what is a shallot. Human civilization already did the hard part. I'm just here to enjoy the benefits. And honestly, Factor meals taste like someone did spend billions of years preparing it. That's because Factor is fresh, never frozen, and they have 100 rotating weekly meals, including globally inspired flavors like Mediterranean and Asian, so there's always something new to look forward to. And if you're really about that life, Factor just launched ready-to-eat salads. With tons of vibrant ingredients and exotic fruits and vegetables I don't even know how to pronounce. Plus, they have over 70 add-ons, like green juice and peanut butter energy bites. I use Factor, and you should too. Head to factormeals.com/letsgethaunted 50 off and use code letsgethaunted 50 off to get 50% off and free daily greens per box, with new subscription only while supplies last until September 27th, 2026. See website for more details. And now back to getting haunted.
Allegedly, these things were jam-packed. Like, people say that 200 people went to that one in Oregon where the flyer was posted. And
that's a lot of people.
At first, like, you have so many people. 200 is crazy,
Yeah.
you guys. We just had a live show, and I think there was like 130 people there or something, and we had the whole fucking internet to broadcast out that that was happening and like try to get people in. Like, I can't imagine just throwing flyers around and like hoping people show up to a random spot where like nobody even knows who you are. Like, there's no name of an organization or anything on that. It just says like there's two people who are going to talk, and it doesn't even name who they are.
Yeah, it seems very risky. It seems like you could just show up somewhere and end up dead because there's like no way to verify that what you're looking at is a real organization.
Well, some people liked that danger, apparently. There was no landing spot for people who decided like, oh, actually, I really like these people that are talking. Yeah, I want to leave my body behind. I want to become an alien. I want to go do the thing. Like, say you went to that meeting and you were just totally hooked. There wasn't really a landing spot for you. So what would happen was people would just follow Applewhite and Nettles around, kind of like, you know, they were school teachers or children or something, and they would be renting houses around or just living in extreme poverty, like sleeping on benches, sleeping on the floor, sleeping out, you know, camping out or whatever, just on the road trying to get more people interested and passing out the flyers, you know, doing work for Bonnie and Applewhite. So member expectations, you might be wondering like, okay, I get why someone might join this. All right, they want to do the whole like alien ascension thing. That sounds cool. What does it take, right? Like, what's the sacrifice? What do I have to give up?
What's the catch? Yeah.
What's the catch? Okay, so member expectations were that to be eligible for membership to the next level, humans would have to shed every single attachment they had to planet Earth.
Here it is.
So here it is. Yeah. So first off, this one's actually not crazy. They did the master cleanse for 3 months. So I don't know if you know what that is. The master cleanse is just lemonade with cayenne pepper and maple syrup. And they just drank this concoction for 3 months to like cleanse their body, rid themselves of all the earthly whatever. I think 3 months is kind of crazy because like who can survive for 3 months on
Yeah.
that? I don't think it's that crazy to do the master cleanse because like it's just part of our society at this point. It's like Beyonce did the master cleanse to fit into her swimsuit or something.
I heard you did the master cleanse.
I did the master cleanse.
You know, on like the cover of a tabloid. I don't know.
keep getting targeted ads on Instagram for juice cleanses, and I'm wondering if it's because we're both logged in to our podcast Instagram, and maybe they see your search history and they're like, oh, let's target her. But I know what you mean, because especially in big cities, juice cleanses are very popular. I know I did one when I was like 25 maybe, but it definitely was not 3 months. I think it was 5 days. And it was like a set of several different types of juices. One was vegetable, one was fruit, one was protein, one, you know, it had variety in it, and you would be drinking them throughout the day. Just doing lemonade, cayenne pepper, and maple syrup for 3 months, that is dedication.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy to me. But I also like, I don't know, like was a part of them just like, hey, we don't have a whole lot of money and like, we have all of these shared expenses, like all of these people who are on our bill. Like, what if we just tell them that, hey, you're actually just going to drink lemonade for 3 months and like, that's it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this is all part of the plan, okay? Like, you don't need food. Like, shut up. Quit being
It's not
an
that we
Earth
can't
bitch.
afford it. It's that actually you can't have it in order to be in our club. We could afford so much food for you guys, but unfortunately the aliens won't let us.
So not only do you have to do the master cleanse, you also have to give up all worldly possessions, including your money. And that's kind of how they keep this thing going. People give them their life savings or like sell off all of their possessions, kind of like the Yellow Deli cult, which we've done an episode on. Very, very similar. But this angle is like they're really going with like the human thing, like give up things that make you human like. So for them, that means cut off all relationships or hobbies outside of the cult, like your family, friends, and jobs. And in 1980, they had 80 followers. And I was kind of like taken aback to read this. They allowed the followers to call their family one time in 1982, and then they actually let all of the members leave to go visit their families in person on Mother's Day in 1983. And I guess this was to sort of like, because Jonestown had happened already, and so a lot of people had negative associations with cults that like
Imagine
isolate
that.
you from your family. Yeah, imagine that. Okay, you sold all your possessions and now you're like with these people and isolate yourself and like it's couldn't be good, right? So then they were it was kind of like a PR move, right? Like go see your family, tell them that this is you want to be here, you're not held prisoner. You want to do this. Like, nobody is forcing you to do anything. This is for you. And they just told their parents, like, yeah, we're studying computers and tech at a monastery, which was sort of true because here's the crazy part. So this is kind of true because the cult, in order to make money, they had their own like web design team. It was a business who designed websites for other businesses called Higher Source. And I actually want to show you one of what the website Higher Source looked like.
Oh, wow. Okay, you know what this reminds me of? So I'll describe this in just a second for those of you who don't want to look at the images or can't look at the images because you're driving. This reminds me of, do you guys remember on like Windows 95, the pinball game that you could play?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was even called Space Pinball or something like that. That is exactly what this graphic design looks like to me. So the background is a black outer space skyscape with white dots that I believe are supposed to be stars. And then kind of coming in a very vibrant highlighter series of colors are the words Higher Source at the very top. And it's extremely colorful, like hot pink.
Rainbow.
Super bright highlighter yellow, super vivid cyan, neon. Yeah, it's very in your face. And then underneath it are a series of what looks like, and I'm a little bit far from the screen, so I could be wrong, but a series of clickable buttons, but they look ornate and they form in the very center of the screen a triangle with a circle in the middle. That seems reminiscent of the Illuminati eye, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and it says services offered: website design, graphic design, audio, video, security, privacy, programming, system analysis, sample websites, Java, whatever, and it's a website essentially where you can use them. So the group was earning revenue by not only the members giving up life savings, but also offering this professional website development under the business name Higher Source, which is so interesting to me because in our Yellow Deli cult episode, we talked about how the Yellow Deli restaurant was just a way for the Yellow Deli cult to make money. And this is kind of a same thing. It's like Higher Source is a legitimate business. The Yellow Deli restaurant is a legitimate business that people like. It tastes good. It's yummy. Higher Source has great clients, but it's fucking run by a cult, which is crazy.
That is crazy. I mean, how it's true though, because like how else are you going to keep the cult going unless you were born into billions of dollars or millions of dollars and are able to just already have a compound like ready to go that is funded irrespective of what your members can offer. If you're bringing in new people all the time and you're telling them that they should stay with you all but one day out of the year when they can go home to see their family, you're going to have to find a way to buy the lemonade and cayenne pepper and maple syrup and vegetables and housing and clothing and everything. So you have to find a way to do it. And I know for Yellow Deli, I believe on that episode, besides the restaurant, I think you had told me that they also required that anyone joining the cult pool all of their assets together. So if someone previously had owned a business or owned a home, now that you've joined Yellow Deli, it's no longer yours, it's ours, comrade.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure they were kind of doing that a little bit here, maybe, where,
Right.
give us your car, give us your possessions. But yeah, you still need a reliable source of continuing income. So I guess hats off to them. They were techies.
Right, like, okay, this is actually making me wonder, is there like a nuanced conversation that's happening here? Because there are other cults, right? Like, I would argue that the majority of religions that are present today, that are popular, that probably a lot of people who are listening were either exposed to as children in their youth or maybe are even a part of now, those cult, like they work the same way. You give money to them, but the only difference is that they're already established. Like Christianity has been around for thousands of years. And so I'm kind of like, okay, Nepo cult leaders, like, sorry that the new cult leaders with their new ideas have to be creative and come up with businesses to, like, fund their dream. Like, we should not all just be shitting on them, being like, oh my God, like, that's insane, Maybe it's a nuanced conversation. I don't know.
I think if some of these established religions, at least in the US, were unable to be tax exempt, I think they would be doing exactly what cults are doing. Because I think that's really the only difference for why one would require you to give all of your money and the other one is like, hey, it's highly encouraged, but it's optional. Put your dollars in the collection plate, but it's optional, because one
Right.
would
but
have
also you go to hell if you don't give 10%. It's optional, but hell is real and you're gonna go if you don't as well, but it is optional. I haven't even gotten to like all of the crazy stuff that they believed in. This right now is just basic cult shit, right? Okay. They also were like, you need to be able to complete whatever task Applewhite assigns to you, including these random tests. So one time, this whole time that this is going on, right, they're like, it's imminent, the catastrophe is coming, we've got to leave Earth, like it's happening any second, be like, freak the fuck out, like we're all gonna die, it's gonna be crazy, like, and then it's been like years and people are like, okay, like, is it coming? And so Applewhite occasionally would be like, it's happening tonight. The aliens are coming. Go outside, stand outside and look up at the sky and don't stop. Like, until they come. It is happening tonight. And then all these people in Texas went to go do it. Aliens never came. And they're like, what the fuck? And then Applewhite was like, actually, that was just a test and you passed. Seeing like how loyal you are and how committed you are to the mission. So congratulations.
Gaslighting final boss. Like, if you can withstand that, you're bonded. You're bonded for life. It's hazing a little bit. It seems like hazing.
It's hazing that also like brings you closer together, because then you're like, that was kind of frustrating, but also he thinks I'm loyal.
Yeah.
So, like, am I your favorite now?
Right.
A big part of this was that they had to reject sexuality, like their individuality and even gender. So they were kind of on the forefront, actually. Like the women and the men all had the same like bowl cut, very short haircut. They all wore very uniform clothes, like nothing that was overly masculine or overly feminine. They were just supposed to look kind of like genderless and all one, which I think is kind of forward thinking there. And they were supposed to reject human pleasure and sex in its entirety, because they said that was what made you mammalian, was the desire to have sex.
And so you needed to resist it. And then it was kind of crazy because, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, mammals be fucking. Okay, I get it. So reject it. But then what was crazy is like they would pair people up like with mentors and stuff with people they thought would be attracted to each other so that you would constantly have to reject. And they felt like that would somehow like make you closer to the ascension because rather than not being exposed to your human triggers, you were constantly exposed. And like that was how you would reach enlightenment. Kind of like, I don't know, a monk like might like hit themselves over the head like 1,000 times just to like stop feeling or
self-flagellation, or I think we even talked
asceticism.
About on I was about to say asceticism. We've talked about before on the show too. Yeah, I mean, look, if that's what they're telling you, you've got to do, and you've already gone all in on this cult, I think you've just got to keep doing it because it is so hard to break the cycle. When you've already given up all your earthly possessions, you've shaved your head, you've given up any sense of individualism, you're going outside every time the guy tells you to go outside because you want to be a good follower and you don't want to be the one left behind. So even if some people were starting to get suspicious, I'm sure that alone wouldn't be enough to make you just up and leave.
I also think what we need to realize too is like, if someone says aliens are coming tonight, go outside and look outside, you would have to be fucking boring not to. Like, why not? Like, what do I have to lose, you know? Like, I just feel like you would be a fucking boring bitch if you were just like, no, that's probably fake, so I'm not even gonna go look, because that's fake. I'm like, okay, fuck. You're a boring basic hoe, you know? Like, let me go outside and see for myself.
What could you possibly have going on right now that's more important than watching a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity of seeing literal aliens from another planet or another timeline or another dimension come down and look you in the eyes? I'd go outside.
This episode is sponsored by BIOLOGICA. What if I told you that there's a version of you who sleeps through the night, thinks clearly, and actually feels like yourself again? You haven't lost her. You just need support that's built for your body. That's exactly where I was when I found out about BIOLOGICA. First of all, just look how cute this box is. That is a quality box. Mwah. Obsessed with this. And then inside, there's all of these little sachets. Equally adorable. All you do is mix a sachet into 8 ounces of water and drink it as part of your daily routine. There's 3 different formulas depending on what stage of life you're in. I'm taking Primary Essentials for women roughly 18 to 45 in their reproductive years. It supports mood, skin, energy, and cycle comfort. They also have Midlife Essentials and Postmenopause Essentials. In double-blind, placebo-controlled trials on mood and emotional well-being, this compound produced statistically significant improvements in tension, stress, and mood. It's formulated with clinically studied ingredients to provide PMS management, mood balance, energy metabolism, skin radiance, digestive support, and a healthy microbiome. Plus, cranberry lemonade flavor means it actually tastes good. And what could be easier than pre-dosed out sachets? That makes them so easy to travel with. So head to biologica.com/haunted to get started. Take their quick hormonal life stage quiz to find the formula that's right for you. And right now, subscribers can receive up to 32% off their purchase. Again, make sure to go to biologica.com/haunted and get up to 32% off your first subscription order today. This show is sponsored by BIOLOGICA. And now back to getting haunted. Let me start going down the drain now because it starts to get a little less whimsical. I start to back out when like people aren't cute anymore. And so what was happening is they would go into isolation. Like they would rent a house and they would board up all of the windows and try to like once again, separate you from what makes you human. Humans like sunlight. Humans like seasons. Humans like the internal clock.
We strip away attachment, fear, and love.
Humans like things that taste good. Humans like order and structure and this. And so they were just constantly fucking with people and being like, you can leave if you want. You're free to go. But it's like a cage without bars because you're like, well, shit, if I go though, and the aliens come right now, then I've sunken cost fallacy. Like I've already spent all of this time putting forth this effort to like rid myself of my human body, and then it was all for nothing if the aliens do come, you know? And so a survivor said that people rarely left the compound. They rarely opened windows. They never went outside. Even talking or socializing was heavily frowned upon, because if you were looking like you were socializing and having too much fun, that was like, oh no, you're like too human. They stopped calling food food. They stopped calling their bodies bodies. They started referring to their bodies as vehicle and food as like fuel. And they had all of these nicknames for things. And there are hundreds of hours of content online of them explaining all of the stuff that they do. So there's literally just not enough time for me to go into all of them. But there are so much things. One of the things that like kind of horrified me and interested me at the same time was that they had like little towels that you could check out. It's like a face towel, like a face wash towel or whatever. And here's the part that doesn't make sense to me, but this is what a survivor said. People would, when they went to go take a shower, ask to get like the little towel so that they could masturbate and to have an extra towel. Look, I don't get it. I'm going to tell you what they said and you explain it to me because this part didn't make sense. And they were like, because I'm like, you could fucking come in the air. What are you talking about? Come down the drain. Like, what do you mean you need a face wash? Can someone, am I masturbating incorrectly? Is that what I'm learning from this episode? Okay, so she said, like, you had to check out getting a towel. Like, you had to check out shampoo and conditioner. Like, all of those things were heavily monitored because they were fucking broke, you know? So they weren't just going to leave everything out for everyone to use all the time. You had to, like, get things out and then whatever. So she said if you were going to masturbate, you needed to ask for this towel, but it was like no one wanted to ask for it because they felt like people were looking down on them for masturbating, but it was like very clear that asking for this one towel meant you were going to masturbate, and it was just like this shameful thing that people did.
Yeah, it also seems like if they were trying to eliminate sex altogether, why even offer the masturbation towel in the first place? But maybe they were having such a big problem with the drains getting all gunked up or something that they were like, all right, we've got to come up with a solution. The solution is the masturbation towel.
Be sure to bring a towel so you don't get all wet.
Yeah, I think it's because Applewhite constantly wanted people to feel like everything was their choice, because I think he was trying so hard not to be like the Jonestown guy. Like the way that he, quote unquote, manipulated people was just like by making them crave his approval so much that they would just willingly do whatever. I mean, they were just like codependent on him. And we're going to watch some videos of him. He doesn't seem like he actually, I could see myself perhaps being indoctrinated into this cult, because he doesn't seem like a bad guy. He kind of just seems like your grandpa or something that's like he seems very genuine. And the fact that he was actually one of the people who killed themselves in the end, to me is like kind of like, okay, like, you're kind of gangster. Like, I'm with it, right? Like, you believe this shit. You know what I mean? Like,
he's walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Yes. Yeah.
He's
like,
on
not
the
a
front
pussy.
lines with all of the people that he's guiding into battle.
Right. Yes. That is I love it, Alyssa. That's a perfect fucking thing. Yes. He's on the front lines, okay? He's not a little bitch sitting back in his castle like, oh, please, like, move the fucking little pieces on the map and show me where the people are and let us theorize and strategize around what to do next. No, he's fucking on the horse in the front with the sphere. Yeah.
He's blowing the bagpipes and leading the charge. Yeah, he's the little drummer boy at the front during the Civil War that you weren't supposed to shoot, but, like, if it happened, oh well.
What? That was a thing?
Yes!
I know there was drummer boys, but did they get shot?
For sure. Yeah, you weren't supposed to shoot him, I don't think, because otherwise why would you put an unarmed drummer boy at the very front to, like, help you march in time?
Okay, so the way one of the ways that they indoctrinated people into this thing was, like, say you did want to join, okay? Like, say you went to one of their meetings or whatever, or like saw what they were doing and wanted to join. they like put you through like little tests or whatever. So like one of the survivors said, yeah, I really wanted to join, so I like contacted them, and they were like, okay, go to this phone book like in the middle of the post office or whatever and turn to this page, and like that will be where like the instructions will be there. So he goes to the post office, opens up the phone book, like the yellow pages or whatever, turns to the page, and it just says like the top of a nearby mountain that's like 30 miles away. So he's like, okay.
It's a treasure hunt.
He figures out how to get to the mountain, and then he gets there, but he sees like nobody is there, like it's deserted, but he thinks he's like too late. So he finds like some flyers on the ground or whatever that say, you know, oh, something like the meeting was here or whatever, and he picks one up, and right as he's about to like figure out like contact them or whatever, two cars pull up, and he doesn't know if this was random or planned, and they're just like, get in the car. And then they take him to another camp. It's like a learning camp or whatever. And then he's going to be there for a little while. And then he'll go to the next one because they're kind of nomadic. They just have to go. They have to keep getting new members to make more money. And then they like will rent places or stay places and then just move around based on what the funds are and where there's opportunity for them. Oh, also the members, they renamed themselves when they got in. So the members of the group took names on that were like 3 letters of their name, followed by the suffix "odi" that would signify themselves as children of the next level. So Allie, for example, your name would be Alodi. Mine would be Natodi. But it could also be a nickname. Like if you were tall, it could be like Talodi.
Huh.
So, for example, there was like Jim Odie and Dave Odie and Al Odie
Dave
and
Odie,
Wendy
I'm sorry,
Odie.
that's so not mystical. Jim Odie and Dave Odie over here. And then we've got Beefy Odie because he's big and strong. And like, I just would love to see the difference between the people that decided to choose a nickname plus Odie versus someone that was actually taking their first 3 letters of their name plus Odie. I feel like that tells you a lot about each person's personality.
It was kind of like Hype House because these people were just making tons of content all the time. And so if you were part of the cult, you had your own name, you were appearing in the videos because he was like hosting classes, like sermons about ascension and like, you know, how to not be mammalian and all this. And so you would have like members in the crowd who are listening and they all had their names. And then you had people who like were taking in the content online who were part of the cult but didn't necessarily live in the house with the people. And so like there are still people to this day who like they like Windody. They're like, oh, I read so and so's book, like he was there until the very end and I have a copy, like if you want it. Like these people are in their own ways like kind of disciples and kind of iconic in the Heaven's Gate sphere. So I'm going to show you this video that is very haunted. This is actually a video that was the students in the final exit outfits, and it was part of a longer video that Applewhite put up.
Ooh, no, I don't. Sorry, you haven't even pushed play yet, but that is a very unsettling still image. For those of you who can't see what I'm looking at, Nat hasn't even pushed play on this video yet, but there is a older gentleman in a button down sitting on a white piece of plastic outdoor furniture, and his image is being projected several times behind him, and he's sort of grimacing and looking upward. I do not like the vibe immediately. That made me so uncomfortable just immediately.
That's funny because like my feeling when I see him is I think of my grandpa and I just feel sad because I'm like, oh, he looks like he's just like old and in pain.
He doesn't, no, he looks nothing like my grandpa. Oh my God. I don't know why. He just immediately, I don't even know who this is yet. Is this the guy?
Yeah, so I'm actually going out of order a little bit because I wanted to show you some of the members. And so this is the final exit statement that was put online. And I'm going to show you just some of the members so that you can kind of see their names.
Okay.
And this is like he's showing them right before they're about to ascend, aka commit suicide.
Evolutionary level above human that might be in you.
Don't like this guy.
that this might mean something to you and help you know a little bit of the truth that we are, and that can be your truth if you recognize us and this information. Hi, Dave Odie. Look at the camera. You look great. Okay, now let's go to Alodi. There's Alodi, and you might want to, there, great. Okay, Alodi's done a lot of our super artwork on our website, and the illustrations you'll really enjoy if you tune into Heaven's Gate website on the internet. Okay, let's swing over to Wendodi. Great. There's that little jerk there, and that wasn't Wendodi, that was our cameraman. Okay, that looks good. Okay, thank you, Wendodi. Let's move on over. There's Alex Odie. Hi, Alex Odie. They're all cameras. Yeah. Okay, come on over to Steel Odie. There's Steel Odie. Might want to turn that down just a little bit. Great. Look at the camera, Steel Odie. Hi, where's your normal? There. Ah, good. Okay, let's go to Doroti. Okay, there's Doroti, and he's even looking at the camera, aren't you, Doroti? Stay looking. There, we got it. Okay, thank you, and let's move on over to our Sodi. Questodi, I'm sorry. There's Questodi. Hi, Questodi. Can you see the camera? There you
Okay, so that video is very long. That's actually like an hour and a half long video, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. And but yeah, isn't that like kind of haunted, because that they're all wearing the outfits that they would be found dead in, and they're all just cheerful and happy and like excited. And it hits like a weird part for me, because part of me is like, fuck yeah, you should be able to kill yourself and go ascend if that's what you want to fucking do. Like, shit here can fucking suck sometimes, so I get it. Like, I get it. And maybe, you know, like, let them fucking do it. Let them be part of the cult. They're happy. They want to do it. That's a lot better than I can say for other people. And it's a complicated situation, too, because, like, some people will be like, well, they're, like, mentally ill or whatever. Okay, well, what fucking other resources do we have for people who are mentally ill? Like, they look like they're a lot better taken care of in that video than the people who are just, like, sleeping outside on the street. You know,
yeah,
so
I was getting
also,
sinister vibes for sure. I was so uncomfortable that whole video, because some of them do look very happy, but some of them look apprehensive or nervous. And he makes a comment a couple of times like, oh, everyone's camera shy. But some of them, to me, did not seem camera shy. They seemed like uncertain of what they were doing and being publicly involved with it, almost like, oh, I'm okay being in the cult privately, but oh my God, now you're filming me. Now I'm like really starting to think about like, why am I here? What am I doing? Everyone is now going to know. And some of them had these sort of glassy, wide-eyed, frozen smile expressions that were just, I don't know. It was unsettling. And the leader's accent, I was not expecting. The way that he speaks, it is so, it just like gave me the creeps, because he's kind of whispering almost. It's like a very low, almost, I don't know if it's transatlantic accent, I don't know, but it was like, hello, yes,
it's like ASMR.
And now we're
to me.
going to Dave Odie. Yes, that's Dave Odie. And we are going to look at Dave Odie's patch. Zoom in on Dave Odie's patch. And it's just like, ah!
Do you think maybe there's a part of you that feels that way because you have your own opinions on all of these people committing suicide and being found as just like bodies wearing matching tracksuits, brainwashed essentially?
No, I think what I'm responding to is maybe partially that they all look exactly the same, which is kind of unsettling anyway. Because even if you were part of a team or a company and so you have a shared uniform, you usually still do put those little accents of individuality into what you're wearing. So if you have to wear the same soccer jersey, well, you at least have different shoes, or you have different hairstyles, or you have a clip or a butterfly clip in your hair, and this person prefers to have their hair down, and this person has a pixie cut, and this person has a braid. But everybody is the same. Even though obviously you can tell that they are different people, they have different races and different genders assigned at birth, or different sexes assigned at birth, it's still the same haircut, no makeup, no jewelry, same outfit, and same kind of frozen expression on their face. And I think that's what I'm responding to. I think that part is unsettling. It's uncanny valley.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I thought about too, because, like, look, guys, if you've never seen what I look like, I've got pink cat ears on. I've got a pink frilly outfit on. I wear pink blush. I put little freckles on my nose. I've got chrome cat nails on. So I'm not here to tell anyone that, being different or like having your own flair makes you, or not having your own flair somehow like makes you I'm speaking as someone who's kind of fascinated by that, like, because I feel like sometimes I hide behind my individuality. It's like, I wonder if I were to take away my hair and my makeup and my outfit and all of the things that make me feel like a vibe, who would be left there? Like, is just all of that shit, like a haircut and and all of the stuff that we think makes us quote unquote individual, just like performative anyways? And so, like, to me, I find that kind of like, I don't know. I don't even know if the word is attractive. I find it like, I want to see more. I want to know more, essentially.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think that you have to be comfortable with yourself without all of the like bells and whistles, especially as we age. I think about this all the time because we have a video podcast. And for a long time, I really didn't want this to be a video podcast because I've never wanted the way that I look to supersede anything else that I can offer the world. So I see what you're saying. Like, it is, even though we lean into our individuality as human beings, we have our own preferences and favorite colors and favorite clothing and whatever. You still, at the end of the day, have to be comfortable with yourself all stripped down. So maybe that's what they were doing. And maybe that is what was appealing, is like, okay, now I'm really going to get to the core of who I am as a person. Without the stuff that I can lean on. But it still also is giving, like, being in jail or being in the military or being in a concentration camp or something where, yes, all the individuality is stripped away, and that could be cool if you're going for asceticism or self-flagellation or meditation. I don't know. There's, like, lots of positive things that can come from figuring out who you are at your core without all the distraction. But at the same time, it's also so unsettling to just see a bunch of people that look exactly the same, wearing the exact same thing with the same expression on their face, and their last names all end in Odie.
Yeah. Everyone's feelings are valid, guys. I'm just pointing out something that I find fascinating because I've always been interested in the disillusion of self. Just like, who are we without any of our stuff? And like, would I even be a person without my beliefs or like the things that make me me and my experiences? And so I find it interesting. It's like, I guess, like a social experiment to me. I don't know. Like, I'm here I am to just say, I don't know. Would I be one of those people who ended up on that bed just to see what it was or how far it would go? I don't know. That's the Gemini in me. I'm a one curious kitten, y'all. Okay, we're going back to 1993. In 1993, there were only 26 people. A bunch of people had left. There used to be like 80 at one point, and then they all like started leaving because they kept saying the aliens were coming, and then they weren't coming, and then they were like, why am I doing all of this shit if the aliens aren't coming? And so they only had 26 people in 1993. They rebranded themselves to Total Overcomers Anonymous and bought a full-page ad for $30,000 to warn people about a catastrophic event and a judgment that was coming. And then In the early 90s, the birth of the internet happened. Heaven's Gate began broadcasting their messages online, trolling for new members because the internet was brand new. And before, cult leaders, like we talked about, had to distribute media through books or events or expensive physical tapes that were purchased and shipped out by mail. But with the introduction of the internet, all of the media could be consumed at an astronomical rate for free. And at a time when the internet was still observed and experienced as a piece of like advanced tech itself, just the fact that a piece of media was on the internet gave it a sense of authority. It was like, oh, this is a real organization because they have a website and they have video online that I can see. Like, it gives its own sense of authority and credence to it. So now they had 39 members, and those members all were working for that web design company called Higher Source, and they were using that money to rent a mansion in Rancho Santa Fe, San Diego. That was when Applegate renamed the group to Heaven's Gate. And that was about the same time that he started talking about suicide and leaving your human body behind and getting beamed up to ascend, because before that, it was kind of a little bit more abstract than that. And he was always saying, oh no, we're going to be able to ascend. You don't have to die to ascend. You don't have to die. But then he got thrown for a curveball because Nettles got cancer. And I think it was 1983. They looked at her eye and saw that she had some cancer and it was spreading, and she elected not to do treatment. And in 1985, she passed away. And when she passed away, everyone was kind of like, well, she's not going to ascend? Like, she didn't ascend with us? Like, they were kind of, what does this mean?
Right.
For the cult? And so then the ideologies kind of shifted, and they were like, no, actually, if your consciousness leaves your body, you can ascend. You don't need your vehicle. Your vehicle, aka your body, is only here to get you to the ascension, and so we can leave our bodies behind and ascend. And it was a very small little tweak, a very different, like, so small that it really, I think, probably wasn't even, like, no one would object to that, but it did set it up so that, yeah, you can leave your body to ascend.
I literally just had an epiphany right now. Do you know that song, Dead Man's Party by Oingo Boingo? It's a dead man's party. Who could ask for more? Everybody's coming. Leave your body at the door. Leave your body and soul at the door. You know that song? Oh my God.
No,
it's like,
but I love it.
It's a Halloween bop. Okay. And I made a TikTok about it a few years ago because my entire life I've always been like, what the fuck is this song about? It's a dead man's part. Okay. I'm going to a dead man's party, but in order to enter, I have to leave my body at the door and my soul at the door. That doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, what is left then? And I made this TikTok about it a few years ago because it's just, I think about it all the time. I just realized, is that song about Heaven's Gate or Jonestown? Is that song about a mass suicide in order to get to the party?
I don't know. That would be really cool if it was.
I think it might be. I literally, my entire life, I've always, anyone who will ever fucking listen to me around Halloween when I hear that song, I'm like, you guys, this song actually makes no sense. I've always thought about this as a child. It makes no sense. What is this about? And everyone's always like, calm down, dude. It's literally just a song. Maybe it doesn't mean anything, but no, I think it's about this.
Ooh, spooky. You guys comment. Let us know if you think the Oingo Boingo song is about mass suicide or not. Okay, this is something else kind of spooky. When these bodies were found, some of them were found castrated. And
oh no,
we were trying to figure out if that was willing or not. And then luckily, we have some survivors and we have media and videotape that survives that shows us that it was. So 8 of the recruits, including, once again, this fucking does a lot for me, and this is why I'm riding and dying for Applewhite, kind of. Not sure where I stand, guys, but I'm not 100% against him, because he also castrated himself. And so I'm like, okay, fuck yeah, dude. Like, you believe in some crazy shit, and you're also willing to put your neck out for it. Okay, so they all voluntarily underwent castration. Applewhite himself was actually persuaded to seek out castration after a bond had started to begin to form with one of the recruits that he was spending time with. And again, there were like imagine if you rented an Airbnb with like 39 people. Like, yeah, 9,200 square feet is really big, but for 39 people, no, it's not. It's like they had bunk beds set up. People were sleeping on the floor, on couches and stuff. Like, that's close knit. So you can't really avoid people. And so he started feeling like his quote unquote vehicle was becoming attracted to another member's vehicle. And that member was like, you know what? I want to castrate myself because I just cannot avoid these feelings. And so the first castration was performed by a former nurse who was in the group. And this nurse coincidentally had worked in a doctor's office where the doctor performed a surgery where he separated testicles from men's bodies. And so the nurse had seen this and she thought she would be able to do it. They set up a sterile room in the house and they took a piece of paper and wrote Mexico on it and then taped that piece of paper that said Mexico to the door. So that way, if authorities ever pressed someone, hey, like, where did these castrations happen? They could say in Mexico.
Oh, without
and
lying?
not feel like they were lying.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
The castration started, and at first everything was okay, but then it wasn't. The patient started moaning so loudly that it traumatized everyone who was around, including Applewhite, and the patient almost died. And after that experience, they started doing castrations only in the hospital. It was actually like a really big deal that shook up a lot of people. And Applewhite himself was like, I should be thrown in jail. Like, I don't even think I should have a cult anymore because what have I done? Like, I've hurt somebody. And he felt like he really, really fucked up. And everyone else was like, no, it's going to be okay. Like, you know, you made a mistake. Like, this is just part of the process. Like, you're human, you know, you make mistakes. And then so like a lot of that almost like brought everyone closer together after that. But then the other castrations were done in a hospital.
Wait, how are they done in a hospital? You just walk into a hospital and you say, I don't want my nuts anymore, and they do it?
I don't know. You know, honestly, I didn't look into that. You're right, though. Will they? I guess.
don't know.
Is that considered like gender switching surgery?
Gender
Or is it
affirming
just-
surgery?
can
No,
you-
I don't
Yeah,
think
or
so.
can you electively castrate yourself? Is it illegal? I feel like America would make that illegal. Honestly, they would just be like, no, you're not doing that.
Yeah.
You're going to have balls and a dick. Okay, sir?
I know that you can't amputate your arms or legs. That's illegal because I know that there was a doctor somewhere who there's a medical condition in which I think it's called alien limb syndrome, where for whatever reason, your brain does not make the connection ever that your leg is your leg. I'm not talking about derealization where that's a common symptom. I'm talking about like genuinely you look at your leg and like, you're like, this is an alien's leg. And there was a doctor who had that condition and he put his leg in dry ice so that it would die, and then went to the hospital and was like, oh, I had this terrible accident. Oh my God, we need to amputate. It's going to turn gangrenous and I'm going to get sepsis and die. And so they amputated it. And then later they did an investigation because it didn't really add up. And they're like, oh, nope, he's got to go to jail because he did this thing, which I'm like, jail? Yeah, revoke his medical license. I'm on board with that. But jail?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This episode has stirred up a lot of feelings for me because I'm like, I don't know. Should I join a cult? Like, is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. Should people be allowed to castrate themselves because they just really love being in a cult and they love the ideology and it gives them a reason to live? Sure. Should people be allowed to die for what they believe in? Probably. Should people, you know, be able to do whatever they want as long as it's not hurting anyone but themselves? If you count death as I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Well, but then also, okay, now I'm remembering on the opposite end of the spectrum. So like in modern times, there's that story of the guy that got his leg amputated and then he went to jail or something. Okay, but then back in the day, there was a whole genre of singing in opera called the castrato, where they would take a young boy who had a very beautiful voice and they would castrate him young so that he would not naturally produce enough testosterone for his voice to drop as he aged. And then that as the person aged, their voice would be higher than it would have been if they were not castrated. And that was legal. So like, yeah, at what point are we in the Heaven's Gate timeline? Like, is it legal? Is it illegal? Were they injuring
Let's
themselves
just take right
on
and
purpose?
wrong out of it.
No,
you know?
I'm just curious about how they did it.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And even at the end of this, there was like investigations into who was helping them, because the amount of barbiturates that it would take to put down 39 people is a lot. And so you would need to have someone cooperating.
Right.
And was it quote unquote Mexico, or was it someone else?
Well, if they had a nurse in the group, maybe she was able to say, hey, I've got this cult that I'm a part of, and we'll give you 10 grand per person on the low if after hours you help us by supplying us with barbiturates and also help us castrate some of our members that want to be castrated.
10 grand's 10 grand. Like, what? I didn't need to. I didn't need to know your whole fucking backstory, lady.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't need a paragraph. All right.
You
Just
actually
tell
don't
me.
have to tell me what to do at all. Just blindfold me, put me in a room with a knife, give me 10 grand, and I'll start cutting.
Okay, now everyone at this point is like, how does anybody like fall for this? Because it's so outlandish, right? So let's watch this initiation tape and see if we can resist it. I know Alyssa's going to be able to resist it because she's a hater on this guy, but I find him to be hypnotic. Look, I'm not saying like I would date this person, but I definitely want to watch a lot of his videos.
Let's see. I'll be the judge of that.
All right. This is the initiation video that you could find on the Heaven's Gate website, and it is uploaded by someone named Jay Downs, and it's called Heaven's Gate Cult Initiation Tape Part 1.
Those who are trying to prepare themselves for entry into the evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us. Planet Earth about to be recycled. Your only chance to survive or evacuate is to leave with us. Now, that's a pretty major statement, pretty bold in terms of religion, in terms of anybody's intelligent thinking. To most people who would consider themselves intelligent beings, they'd say, well, that's absurd. What's all this doomsday stuff? What's all this prophetic stuff? You know, intelligent human beings should realize that everything has their cycle. They have their season. They have their beginning. They have their end. They have cycles. We're not saying that planet Earth is coming to an end. We're saying that planet Earth is about to be refurbished, spaded under, and have another chance to serve as a garden for another human civilization. Now, the reason this is such an interesting time is not only because we're on the threshold of the end of this civilization, because it's about to be recycled, but because of where that finds us, where that finds you, where that finds those who would judge us, how we would speak of them and how they would speak of us. Now, you keep saying us. Who do you think you are? Well, I, in all honesty, must acknowledge my father. My father is not a human father. My father is a member of the evolutionary level above human, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven.
I have to stop it for a second because I feel like it works on me. Does it work on you? Like the words he's saying, like my father is kingdom of heaven, and then it'll like flash like rainbow on him or something. I don't know if that was like a glitch or if that was by design, but my brain is like marking down those words. It's like I can, you guys, I have ADHD and I also don't give a shit about a lot of stuff. So it's very hard for me to pay attention, but that guy forces me to lock the fuck in. I feel like he could teach me anything and I would understand it.
This is what I'm thinking so far. First of all, he looks like if Caillou got MK Ultra'd. Like, he looks like Charlie Brown lost in a desert who's been found after 17 years of wandering, severely malnourished. Okay. Third of all, and I'm saying this with the full awareness that I also have scary eyes. Guys, there's no time to explain. I have an autoimmune disease that affects my eyes. It makes them appear very large, and I can't blink very well. This dude may have that autoimmune disease. He is just like fully, for those of you who cannot see the video, fully staring wide-eyed at the camera, blinking maybe once every paragraph. And he kind of has like a little turtle vibe going on, you know, like he looks like Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey when he's the turtle, and he's got like this long sinewy neck, and he's bald and he's pale and he's cocking his head from side to side while he's like staring very intently at the camera. And again, it's just given uncanny valley. But I will say, to not be a hater, I will say that a lot of the rhetoric that he's saying doesn't seem that crazy if you've learned about various religions or dogmas or whatever. It doesn't seem that crazy to say that the ultimate goal is to ascend. The ultimate goal is to leave behind everything. That is echoed in a lot of religions, I think. So that part doesn't seem crazy to me. It's his general demeanor is off-putting to me.
Yeah, I feel like he's using some sort of technique though, because he'll be speaking just like regular conversationally, and then he'll be like, planet Earth about to end, get on spacecraft with us or whatever. He just like, it feels like some sort of technique. But I just want to back up for a second. I did not realize that your eyes, like the quote unquote crazy eyes, were attributed to your autoimmune disease. And I just want to apologize because I would have never made any sort of comment about them had I known that that was a symptom. When I said, oh, you have crazy eyes, what I really meant was that you seem to be very engaged in whatever you're talking about. And so like your eyes will widen, and it's usually about something that is like particularly insane, like UFOs or, I don't know, something haunted. And so that's what I meant by crazy eyes. I didn't mean to insult you or make you feel, like you're, I don't even know. I just didn't mean to insult you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, yeah. I didn't take offense to it at all. I was just pointing out that I don't know if his eyes are big because of, like, there's a lot of reasons why people might not blink regularly. And so I can't tell, looking at him, like, I cannot tell if he's not blinking because of some like physical ailment or because of some mental ailment, technique. Or if it's a technique. Yeah, I just have no clue. I have heard that. Well, actually, you told me this when we were talking last year about the Kozyrev mirror experiment. I believe we like went into some studies about if you stare at someone for long enough in the eyes unblinkingly, or if you look at yourself in a mirror for long enough unblinkingly, you can feel high. And so, yeah, I don't know. Is it a technique? Is he trying to hypnotize us, entrance us? Can he not blink? I don't know. I just don't know.
I feel like it works on me. I mean, I'm not 100% like, okay, let's go ascend the spaceship or whatever, but I'm self-aware enough to be able to feel when, like, my body is emitting a feel good chemical. Like I can feel it when he's talking. It's like ASMR. Like I'm getting ASMR when he's talking because his voice is like gentle or whatever. But then I was also watching him and he's not breaking eye contact. And I was thinking, because I know some like actors use that as a technique to seem to be more dramatic on camera, like they won't blink in any of their takes. And I was watching him and I was like, I wonder if that's what he's doing. And then I was trying to mimic, like mirror. I was like, let me see if I can keep my eyes open as long as him, because maybe it's actually, they haven't been open that long, you know? And then I was like actively trying not to blink. And then just like the act of trying not to blink was sort of making me high.
Oh,
like
interesting.
that kind of like hypnotic feeling.
Almost like holding,
you know, like
your
when
breath.
You space out.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, you know, when you kind of space out and like you can hold, like you can stare at something for a really long time without blinking, you like enter that like weird space where like everything's like tunnel vision. I don't know how to explain
that. That is
but
interesting though.
Yeah.
Maybe you're right then. It is a technique that he was using, because if he's asking you to give up the things that make you human anyway, is he also asking you to give up some of the bodily functions or try to gain dominion over the things that our body does without us even having to think about it? You know?
Yeah, no, I actually think that's really brilliant. I think that could be like, yeah, underneath it is like, okay, first I'm going to override your bodily autonomy, you know?
Yeah.
And then we're going to work on stripping down all of your beliefs and thoughts. And okay. So in October of 1996, 2 video messages were uploaded to the Heaven Gate website offering viewers quote unquote last chances to evacuate Earth and ascend. We are going to watch very briefly the last chance video. This one is known creepily as lastchance.wmv because that's how it was saved, like on the website. And so we were going to watch it.
Is that like an old file name? I'm only familiar with
Yes.
.mov, .mk4, .mp4.
Yeah, it is a 90s era, I think. I mean, that's what I assumed it was.
I'll tell you who I am. As to whether or not you believe who I am or not is up to you. I'm from kingdom level above human. What does that yield? That yields immediately that the vast majority say cult, some religious radical, some blasphemous individual that wants to take advantage of people, you know, has some big bank account somewhere that they're taking whatever possessions that followers can get. I wish you'd show me where that bank account so that we could use it to get this information out. Everyone's quick to condemn. I mean, they don't even see anymore. They just see a tiny little aspect of someone else and they quickly determine that they're so brilliant that they can judge it as being not what they're looking for, worthless, some radical movement, some movement that certainly is beneath them. I'll tell you about a kingdom level beyond here, and if you want to go there, then you have to follow me because I'm the guy who's got the key at the moment. And it requires that you, if you move into that evolutionary kingdom, that you leave behind everything of human ways, human behavior, human ignorance, human misinformation.
So the reason why I laughed at the beginning is because his style of talking, maybe it hooks you because it's unpredictable. But the thing that made me laugh was at first he was speaking really slowly and then he goes, I am a level above the kingdom, like with like the way he enunciates, and it got me. Yeah. Good for him. I mean, seems very certain. He seems really positive. I've never been certain about much in my life. So good for him that he's really like found his niche.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just.
I think he speaks anybody who is quote like going against the grain and who is actually like not being a dick about their beliefs, I'm attracted to. Not sexually. I just like, I find them magnetic. Like I'm the girl at a party who can talk to somebody who has completely opposite beliefs as me and find it fascinating and fun and be able to be like, why do you believe that? Oh, like, okay, that's a valid experience. All right. Yeah, I've never looked at it that way. I still don't agree with you. I still don't see it that way. However, I can understand your perspective. And I can do that, and I find it fun. And there's some people that I think are like really good conversationalists, and I feel like he's one of those people, right? Like, I feel like you could talk to him and he wouldn't get pissed or start like raising his voice or being, or just being a dick. Like, he would be able to talk to you about this ascension thing. And like, you could ask him like a million questions about it and be like, well, you know what? But here's the thing that doesn't make sense though. And he would be like, yeah, and be able to be like, I know. Yeah. And you would just like eventually be like, okay, cool. Yeah. You know what? Fuck it. Let's go. Like, let's kill ourselves. Like, why not?
Yeah. He also doesn't say like or which is something I struggle with personally. And I wonder if the lack of filler words also makes him seem more intelligent and more sure of himself. And so you're like, oh,
that's a good
repeat
read.
That? Like, what did you say?
That's a good read. Yeah, it's almost like I'm being taken on like a journey when he's talking. Like, you're kind of just like, what is the next sentence going to be?
Yes, it's easy to see why people could have been drawn into this type of character because he seems very sure of himself. He seems like he's got it all figured out. And yeah, he's a little bit quirky, but he's a great public speaker. He's got a lot of charisma. And if you yourself are struggling, like I'm sure some of these people, you're not going to go join a cult. Maybe you would, but you're not going to go join a cult if you're like Angelina Jolie, right? You're at the peak of your career. You're rich. You're hot. You've got kids. You've got a bunch of stuff going for you. It seems like if you're going to join this type of cult in particular, where you have to renounce your family, well, you can go visit them once a year, but you're kind of coming on as your own adult individual person and you're getting rid of everything that makes you you probably don't have a great life that you're leaving behind. So there's less to lose. And so it's easy to see why people would have been drawn to him for sure.
Well, that's kind of the crazy thing because, first of all, I just want to say, because I think Angelina Jolie was the wrong person to choose, because I do feel like at the peak of her fame, she would absolutely be very interested in a cult, and she went against her whole upbringing, and she ended up adopting children and stuff from Cambodia because she wanted to like denounce her Hollywood like rich upbringing. And there was for a while she was wearing like a vial of blood of like Billy Bob Thornton. Like, I feel like she is not a good example, but everything else you were saying, yes. However, there was some people in the cult who like were Hollywood type people. I don't know how wealthy they were, but there was one kid who was like related to one of the Star Trek actresses, and was kind of interesting when people were looking at the victims. They were like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person. Anyways, we got like 20 minutes left of this, so I just want to get through it. So then the Hale-Bopp comet started nearing Earth in March of 1997. And I didn't know this, but when the Hale-Bopp comet came close to Earth, there was like so many doomsday cults happening, and like there were other suicides that were happening, and lots of like panic and frenzy was going on in the news cycle because the media was talking about how it was supposedly going to be doomsday. And then they would like have some characters on who were like, yeah, like we're going to ascend. And then it was just like everyone was in a frenzy. It was like very talked about. It was the 9/11 of 1997, essentially. And that turned into somehow that the comet had a spaceship behind it where Bonnie Nettles, the leader who had passed away from cancer, was, and she was going to come and get all of them. So now here's a callback, guys. Applewhite thought that the government was trying to cover up that there was a spaceship, and he was all riled up because most conspiracy theorists were riled up at this time because the Waco siege had happened in the early 90s. And so he started posting all these desperate messages in the newspaper begging people to leave Earth and join the cult. And in March of 1997, the group started recording their farewell statements and posting them to their website. And one of those, we watched a little bit of it earlier in the episode, where the people were all sitting down kind of in like a lecture setting inside the house, and they were all wearing matching outfits and going through their names. And another one of those is the final exit video, in which Applewhite basically says his final goodbyes.
This is March 19, 1997. And I'm Doe. Some called our partnership T and Doe. That's not my name, but that's how I'm referred to on planet Earth at this time. I've been talking to my students that are sitting in front of me about talking to you. And let me say that our mission here at this time is about to come to a close in the next few days. We came from distant space, and even what some might call somewhat of another dimension. And we're about to return from whence we came. And I'd say that when we say we came from distant space, that we're talking about what your religious literature would call the kingdom of heaven or the kingdom of God. And we came for the express purpose to offer a doorway to the kingdom of God. At the end of this civilization, the end of this age, the end of this millennium. And now that we're about to return, just a few things we wanted to say to you. And
So this is his farewell speech, you're saying. So everyone behind the camera are his followers who will eventually take the barbiturates along with him and end up dying.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
eerie, very eerie. It does seem like this is a unique case, or cults are so unique in that they do seem to film a lot. And so we have a lot of stuff. I could see how you could spend your whole life kind of combing through these hours and hours of footage,
Yeah.
writing a book, or just trying to figure out what it was all about.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hard part about this episode, is that there are so many different angles we can take, and it's so much deeper and more complicated than just crazy guy and his crazy followers decided to kill themselves because they were stupid. It was like, actually, a lot of these people raised really valid points about life and our meaning of us being here as humans, and they were looking for answers about things that nobody has the answers to. Nobody fucking knows what happens after you die. Nobody knows. That's the truth of it. And, you know, we don't know that you get on a spaceship or ascend to the next level. And so I'm not going to sit here and make it seem like I think that I'm not going to judge them for their choices. But it is very haunting, because for me, I think the thing that makes this so haunting is that the media didn't focus on anything else other than just the death, the suicide. So all like I'm watching every single piece of media with a lens of like, oh my God, all these people are gonna eventually just be dead on a bed with like no life in them at all, wearing Nikes, and reduced to just like videos of the police pulling bodies out and just stacking them in cars and driving away. And it like, you know, to me, I'm like, God, that's just, it's fucked, because like what they're talking about is actually like some deep, beautiful shit about like having faith and, you know, human resilience, and trying to discover what we are when we take away our humanness, and what we are when we take away our gender and our identity and all the things that make us who we are. Like, I don't know, it's like kind of beautiful and poetic, and it's sad that it's just reduced to like, oh yeah, they shit their pants when they died. Because it's like, you guys you're not getting it. But then maybe that's just me being indoctrinated. I don't know.
Do we have any interviews with any of the family members of the people who passed away? I would just be so
Yeah,
curious to know like how they felt about the situation, because that's who I'm feeling most sorry for in this story at this current point in time. Like, I feel bad for these people's families who probably were watching helplessly as their loved ones are trying to reassure them, like, no, this is not a cult. It's like a totally legitimate club religion, and I'm happier than I've ever been. Like, I just can't imagine being a relative that is like, well, now my daughter isn't here anymore, or my spouse isn't here anymore, or whatever it is.
Yeah. I think based off of a lot of the media, because they had already been isolated for so long, like a lot of the people who are related to the bodies that were found were just kind of felt like my kid died years ago.
Oh,
you know,
gotcha.
when they entered the cult.
Yeah, that's
kind of like
sad.
This was not. Yeah, when we picked up the body, it was a shock, but we haven't had a relationship in a very long time. 2 nights before the mass suicide took place, the entire cult went out for a Last Supper-like meal together at Marie Callender's restaurant in Carlsbad, California. The waitress who served the cult their meal said in an interview for the BBC, quote, "They all ordered the exact same thing."
Can I guess? Was it potato cheese soup? That is like what Marie Callender's is known for, is potato cheese soup, and of course, all their pies, like coconut cream pie or something.
No, I've actually never been to Marie Callender's. I've always wanted to go because the commercials show like a pie with like 4 inches of fucking white, whatever that is. And it looks so good, but I've never been.
Yeah, we went all the time when I
good?
was a kid for like special occasions. Like if we were going to go out to dinner, we were probably at Marie Callender's. Caro's, Marie Callender's, and oh my God, what was the other one? Mimi's, for anybody from Southern California. Those were like the 3 fancy restaurants for families. Yeah, in my area.
We went to Chili's. We always went to Chili's at least once a week, and which I feel like was fucking fancy as fuck for Oklahoma. Like, wow, you go out to a restaurant once a week, like your family's doing well. And we would go to Chili's, and I remember one time my mom choked on a piece of steak, and my dad had to jump across the table and fucking give her the Heimlich maneuver, and like a piece of steak that had a piece of fat that was connected to another piece like shot out.
Wow.
And she, she had tears down her eyes and everything, and my mom
Props
was like,
to your dad.
Dad just saved my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my dad was like, used it as like a teaching moment for me and my brother. He was like, kids, if you're ever choking, the universal sign is this,
That's true.
Then everyone knows you're choking. And yeah, I just always remember that. Because I remember growing up in Oklahoma, I was like, yeah, we go to Chili's every week. And now looking back on that, I'm like, that is the equivalent of white trash behavior, but also sort of aspirational, because taking your family, look, I don't give a fuck where you take your family out for dinner. I think being able to do it is an accomplishment, and I'm proud of it.
Caro's was great. I have a lot of good memories coloring with the crayons, and it doesn't exist in Ventura anymore, but if anyone knows what I'm talking about, that was like a staple for sure.
Okay, so they all had iced teas to drink, dinner salads beforehand with tomato vinegar dressing, turkey pot pie for the entree, cheesecake with blueberries on top for dessert. And she said they seemed very nice, very friendly, very polite. No one seemed depressed at all or anything like that. End quote. On March 22nd, 1997, members drank applesauce laced with barbiturates and drank vodka, then placed bags over their heads to asphyxiate themselves. Matching black tracksuits and Nike Decades were on their feet. Side note, that shoe is now discontinued by Nike, but has become a collector's item because of this incident.
Oh,
Nike,
wow.
as soon as the press started running with this, they discontinued the shoe, and then it became a collector's item, and now you can find them on eBay for like $6,500. The deaths happened over a period of 3 days, with Applewhite being one of the last 3. 2 assistants helped him, and then they killed themselves. They placed a purple square sheet over their torso and faces, face up, exact same body positioning, except for the last 2 who had nobody to place a purple shroud over them. Next to the bodies were a little pouch with their respective IDs and a $5 bill with a roll of quarters. Wikipedia says, quote, before the last of the suicides, similar sets of packages were sent out to numerous Heaven's Gate affiliated or formerly affiliated individuals, and at least one media outlet, the BBC department responsible for Louis Theroux's Weird Weekends, for which Heaven's Gate had earlier declined participation. Among those on the list of recipients was Rio D'Angelo. The package D'Angelo received on the evening of March 25th contained, like other packages that were sent out, 2 VHS videotapes, one with Doe's final exit and the other with the farewell messages of group followers. It also contained a letter stating that, among other things, quote, we have exited our vehicles just as we entered them, end quote. D'Angelo informed his boss of the contents of the packages and received a ride from him from Los Angeles to the Heaven's Gate home so he could verify the letter. D'Angelo found a back door intentionally left unlocked and used a video camera to record what he saw. After leaving the house, D'Angelo's boss, who had waited outside, encouraged him to make calls alerting the authorities. The San Diego County Sheriff's Department received an anonymous tip through 911 at 3:15 p.m. on March 26th, suggesting they, quote, check on the welfare of the residents, end quote. Days after the suicides, the caller was revealed to be D'Angelo. Okay, there's just one more video. Basically, it's a CBS report where the reporter is like, it was a rich neighborhood and no one was expecting a bunch of fucking weirdos to be found dead there. And then there's like people who are like, yeah, they're not from here. They're broke and broke people fucking ruin everything. And then little girl being like, I mean, this is not, but a little girl being like, my mom said that they just didn't want to pay taxes. And that is what she said. And basically just a bunch of people scratching their heads.
Oh, wow. Okay, guys, so I'm looking at old news footage. It appears to be a compilation, and it's just showing all of these different clips of different reporters talking, different footage of bodies covered in purple shrouds. And yeah, they're all wearing the same general attire. Oh, it's so creepy too, because when I'm saying they're covered in a purple shroud, it's not their whole body. This is actually like kind of a small square of fabric relative to how large the bodies are. It is only covering their arms, upper torso, and face. Everything else you can see. So I think that also makes it creepy too, because you're just seeing laid straight out, right? Like all of these bodies are laid straight out. They're wearing the same color clothing. They're wearing the same shoes. Yeah, it's definitely creepy. And then they're showing some kind of hot cops from the 90s who are unrolling crime scene tape, and then different illustrations of what aliens might look like. You know, in some ways this seems like a great time to be alive, because now if you told me that my next door neighbor in this building actually was running a cult and is not a law firm as they claim to be, and like they all committed mass suicide, I feel like I'd just be like, that makes sense. I don't know why. I would just be like, yeah, okay, makes sense. I should have known. How did I not see the signs? But it seems like back in the day, maybe because we have access to the internet now, so like nothing surprises us. Like we can watch this on repeat forever if we wanted. But a lot of the people in these clips seem like they're just so exasperated by it, like so baffled by it, so confused, so like thrown off.
Okay, now I'm going to show you a video that is the first deputies who were responding to the call. This is the part that I feel like is not fair, is that they were like on their own ascension and whatever, and they should be allowed to kill themselves. Maybe, I don't know if I'm for or against it, but it sucks. Like, people who have to find the bodies like are traumatized by that.
Absolutely.
And that's the part that kind of sucks. And I think I kind of forget that because I'm just so numb to death and like destruction and shit like that in general, I feel like. And so in my mind, I'm just like, yeah, mass suicide, like, sure, they wanted to let them, but I kind of like forget that, like, well, actually, that's like very traumatizing. And that just speaks to my own fucked up thing, because I have had people in my life who have passed this way, and I have been to several funerals and seen the outcome of that. So I do know what that's like. And I've suffered with depression myself. I think I think you just get to a certain point where it's like you cannot feel like a way about a certain thing anymore. I've just been like desensitized to it.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad for these cops.
But I think you're pointing out something that is like very true. So our audience hopefully won't jump down either of our throats based on our reactions, because the reality is that this is a super complicated subject. If you're alive and you don't want to be alive, there's a good argument that you should be able to elect for euthanasia, like humane passing with dignity, right? But then there's also an argument to be made that if you are mentally unwell and that could be fixed, then it's more of a tragedy to let you die than it is to give you care that you need. And then there's also an argument to be made that aren't all religions, as we boil them down, if we distill them down, like nobody knows which one's correct. Maybe they're all incorrect. Maybe they're all cults and some just get tax exemption from the government and others don't because they're newer. And so is it right to say one's more valid than the other? One belief system's more valid than the other? You know, like it's just super complicated in general. And so the one thing that maybe we can just all say, okay, this does seem correct, is that it's not fair to the people that had to find them. And it's not fair to the people that got left behind and had to just watch as someone they really loved made a decision that they didn't necessarily agree with. And those are the only two things we can say, really, about this event.
Started doing a check of the house. The windows were closed. Got around to a door that I found that was unlocked, but it was closed. When I opened up the door, I noticed an odor that, in my past experience, has been associated with death. Most officers have been to a call where someone's been deceased for a number of days or hours, and once you get that smell, and some of you might be familiar with it, it doesn't leave your head. I think part of my mindset kicked into where I didn't want to accept that, and called for my partner and continued to check the house, thinking this is probably just my imagination. When she got there, I told her that that's what I felt it was, my imagination, but hey, you judge for yourself. She walked up to the door. She smelled the same odor. Right then, I kind of confirmed what I've been thinking deep down inside, that, yeah, this is for real. Both of us went inside not knowing what to expect, and I know a couple of things have been kind of controversial or mixed up in how you guys first got the information, and that's kind of also why we wanted to be here. When we went inside, we started noticing a few bodies, but first couple of rooms we went into were totally empty. When we confirmed that a couple of bodies were in there and basically kind of did a fast count of just 10 of what we could see, being that the house was closed up, the windows were closed, it didn't look like there was any kind of traumatic experience that went on in there. We weren't sure how these people passed away, and we began to wonder for our own safety what the air quality and everything was and what might possibly have caused their death. So we moved out of the residence after being in there just for a short period of time. And then we notified the comm center, and I guess some of you guys probably heard this call.
He just seems very shaken up, and that I'm sure it takes a lot to rattle someone that, like he said, he sees death all the time, but he does seem shaky and his voice is kind of wavering.
Yeah. I mean, I think PTSD too is like something that doesn't show up right away also. So it's like something might happen to you that at the time you don't really think of as traumatic because your body is just getting through it, and it can affect you later too. So I think that it manifests in different ways. And too, even if you don't have like a crazy reaction, like maybe you're not going to be like, sobbing in your beds at night or like sliding down walls like they do in music videos. Just the fact that it happened to you now, every single time you see a purple tablecloth, what are you going to be thinking of?
Yeah.
Oh, that time that I saw 39 bodies covered in a purple tablecloth. And maybe just that is like kind of annoying and a burden in itself, even if you don't have an emotional reaction to it. It kind of pulls you out of, oh, my daughter just graduated from high school. 1 second. Oh, this is kind of reminding me of that time that 39 people were decaying, and I thought maybe I should leave the room because the smell of their decaying bodies made me wonder if that was what actually caused the deaths. Oh, never. That's not important. Never mind. Back to my daughter's graduation.
Yeah, or even just seeing a Nike shoe. I can see now, at first I was like, I don't understand why Nike canceled that shoe and stopped making it. But now I kind of get it, because this was such a huge news story, especially at the time, that if your brand was like, can you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine if there was a cult somewhere that committed mass suicide and they were just wearing "Let's Get Haunted" t-shirts? I'd be like, well, we've got to change our entire name or just shut down this entire podcast, because how do you continue after that? Even though it's not your fault, like it's not Nike's fault that they were wearing their shoes, but how, you have to detach yourself from that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't even have a comment. I was just thinking in my mind, how can I spin that actually to help us? And I was like, no, there's actually no way.
Well, the one company that did it well is Tylenol, because they had a ton of murders associated with their medicine being tampered with back in was it the 80s? And it led to a lot of reforms. Yeah, with safety seals. And they're still existing. So I guess you can do it. You can do it. You've just got to show, you have to have a good PR team, I think. You have to invest a lot of money in a PR team that will come in and consult with you and be like, you know what? Just cancel the shoe. It's not a big deal, guys. Just burn them. Throw them all into a landfill, set them on fire. We'll make a new, better shoe. People will not remember in 20 years' time.
Okay, guys, so now here's where it gets kind of crazy. The Heaven's Gate website is still active, and if you email the admin, you get a response. Wow. It's alleged that the people who are working admin of the Heaven's Gate website are a couple named Mark and Sarah King, but that's unconfirmed. When someone reached out via email asking why the people running Heaven's Gate website are still alive and not on the next level, they actually responded in an email thread saying that their duty was to spread the word for people who are still on Earth. Allie, we're going to read this very short little account here. So what we will do is, this is a screenshot that someone had posted to Reddit, basically saying, hey, did you know the Heaven's Gate website is still active? And here's the conversation that I had. So Allie, you can be the person who is calling themselves me, asking the questions, the inquirer, and I will be the rep at heavensgate.com.
Got it. Do people still check this email?
Yes, we do.
Were you part of the group? And if so, do you still believe in it?
Yes. We joined at the beginning in 1975 and still believe in the understanding of the next level.
Do you believe all those who left their vehicles on Earth made it to Tella? Also, do you think Ty or Doe will come back to Earth in another vehicle to get more people to a height level? I'm sorry if this seems too intrusive. I'm just truly curious.
Yes. They made it. Doe will return, but it will not be for a very long time.
Interesting. Is there any reason you didn't go with them?
We have our task to do here, for now.
Because Doe isn't here, new members can't join, right? If so, what would your main task be besides preventing the spread of misinformation?
The group came to a physical end on this planet in 1997. There is nothing to join and there are no members. We are tasked to protect, archive, and disseminate the information of the next level to the world.
Got it.
Kind of ominous, right?
Yeah.
Kind of strange.
Creepy.
Because they're saying you can't join, there's nothing here, but our job is to what?
Answer emails? Yeah. Maintain the website?
Yeah, for what though?
Yeah, for what? For who? It kind of makes me wonder if it really is continuing on, but in secret.
Okay, I'm glad you said that, because it wouldn't be a Let's Get Haunted episode if we didn't go absolutely fully unhinged and unmoored at the very end. So what if the remaining members of Heaven's Gate are suppressing the mission for their own monetary gain?
Oh.
This is a question that a YouTuber has begun to ask on YouTube, and I found this website or this YouTube channel, and when I found it, I was like, holy shit, this is kind of fucking crazy and weird, but it's also the perfect thing for the podcast. So then I was like struck between two worlds of like, wow, I'm so upset by this, and also I'm so happy that I found this content gold. So now we are going to experience it together. This is a YouTube channel that is like brand, like it's literally, there's no one here. It's 32 subscribers. This is a video posted 3 years ago with 238 views. And the name of the channel is called HPM Reporting Heaven's Gate.
Hello. My name is Hot Praying Mantis, but you can call me HPM for short. I have been publishing suppressed information related to the Heaven's Gate group. I have been working to preserve and disseminate all audio tapes produced by the group, in addition to DVD, HD videos, CDs, and written works. 2 remaining members, named Mark and Sarah King, run an organization named the Tele Foundation. The Tele Foundation took out retroactive copyrights on some of these materials, despite the original intent being for the materials to be disseminated. The dissemination task is a core part of the religion. Other ex-members and current believers tried to share class materials, and then they were hit with DCMA takedowns. Believers persisted in trying to practice their religion and disseminate the materials. They were sued for millions of dollars in damages. Mark and Sarah claim to be working in service to their higher power, in order to disseminate the class materials. However, the only instances where Mark and Sarah share the materials is when a large media company pays them for it, and even then, it's only for documentaries that paint the group negatively. They no longer send out books or DVD. All they do is fight to keep the information private, away from believers and researchers alike, until someone offers to pay them royalties. I am not a believer, but I will not stand for this censorship. I feel this information is an important part of history and deserves to be preserved. Otherwise, the historical narrative surrounding dozens of people is allowed to be rewritten by 2 people with their own agenda. This information was created over decades by passionate people who wanted to share it with the world before leaving in 1997, and now it is being held hostage by an elderly couple with a vendetta, while the earnest believers are getting served lawsuits by them. Regardless of your opinion on the belief system, I think that the actions of Mark and Sarah King are plainly vindictive and hypocritical, in addition to a hindrance to further study of the group and its beliefs.
Okay, so basically goes on like that for a while. If you guys are interested in that, you can check out that videos. That goes deep too. But there's all kinds of other accounts that I was finding on YouTube, and there was even 2 comments under that was like, keep going, they'll never stop, like, don't give up the fight, brother. And there is like some sort of thing going on. Like, there are at least a few thousand active members or people who are interested in this, just based off of my understanding of these YouTube videos.
That's crazy. Have you tried emailing that email address?
No, I haven't. Actually, was thinking about that when I was in the shower today. I was like, should I just email them and be like, hey,
come on the show.
What's up? I'm like kind of scared of them, because I was actually, while I was having the shower thought, I was like, well, shit, are they going to see our episode of this and try to like take down? And so that's why I was like making sure I was using.
It's a repeat of the Dawdleston messages where you reach out to someone.
Or subject X.
Yeah. Oh, guys, no time to explain. If you're new to the show, I'm so sorry. You're just going to have to go back and listen to literally every single episode in order that we've ever done, because there's too much lore to get into. But yeah, that is the risk. You know what? It's funny you say that, because I was thinking about that recently too. I wanted to reach out to someone that was associated with an episode that I'm thinking about doing. But then I was thinking about it and I was like, it's this weird dynamic, because technically we're not journalists, right? We're just entertainers. And so sometimes it's hard to know, like, okay, if I just give an unbiased opinion, maybe they'll come on. But at the same time, because I'm not a journalist, there are some stories where I have to be like, hey, by the way, I clearly think this is not right. Like, what this person is saying does not check out. And then if you invite that person on, they can get angry and want to sue you or take down your website or your show or whatever you're doing. So it is, man, it's tough. It's tough out here as a citizen entertainer.
Okay, last thing I want to say, I do agree with you. It is tough out here. But the last thing that I want to say that leaves a little bit of room up for interpretation is that right after this happened in 1997, CNN ran a report. And if you go on the CNN website and scroll all the way back to 1997, you can actually find this article. And in the article, they were talking about how investigators went inside the house and they found a document that, quote unquote, might shed light on the way that the suicides all went down. And the document was called The Routine. It was labeled The Routine. And it outlined a process by which a group of 15 people would kill themselves, assisted by 8 other people. And then a second group of 15 would die, also assisted by 8 people. And so if there were 39 victims that were found and they used the routine method, that would have left a final group of 9 people who didn't pass away and who were left on Earth to do what? I don't know. But also in the article, like, they were talking about how the cult members had planned to make a movie in the final months after their deaths and to spread their views. And they had gone and seen 2 film producers, a guy named Alex Pappas, who was a Phoenix producer, and the producer met the group before their deaths, and he was interviewed and was basically like, yeah, I was super shocked because they seemed so pumped about it. He says, quote, I was shocked. They were a little weird the way they looked and dressed, but they were so eager and so enthusiastic, and the group had given him a 223-page screenplay after learning that he was a movie producer. It was entitled Beyond Human, Return of the Next Level, and it was going to feature motherships, alien abductions, and clashes between bad reptile aliens and benevolent ones for the control of Earth. It was about the ability to rise up to several flights above humans. And so he thought, like, wow, this is just a cool idea for a movie.
Sci-fi.
But that was like, yeah. So then that got me thinking, because I'm insane, okay, are these 9 people, like, let's say that they did the routine and there were 9 people left at the house. And there's hundreds of other people who were part of the cult that didn't commit suicide there, that were just watching the videos or whatever. Like, is it continuing on in secret? I don't know.
I mean, it kind of seems like it. If they really did follow the instructions that were left behind, then there really should be 9 people left. And we know that allegedly there's at least 2 former members or current members that are still alive that filed DMCA takedowns of anyone that tries to disseminate the religious texts that they had. So we know there's at least 2, allegedly. Is there more? And what are they doing? And are they trying to just fly under the radar because it's a crime to help someone poison themselves and not call the police or try to render aid? And so that's why we don't know what they're doing? Or, oh my God, or even creepier, what if these are like people that we do know who they are? We just don't know that they're involved with this, like celebrities or CEOs or government officials or politicians or... Yeah, you can really spin out for sure.
You could spin. You could go totally crazy. There's another angle with the whole Nike thing too that I won't take because I don't want to get sued, but you guys can use your own imagination.
Oh, wow.
To figure out how that goes. Because it was
Adidas.
It was rumored.
They were trying to sabotage Nike.
This is my interesting thing that I was going to say about Rancho Santa Fe. When I first moved to LA, I was like 17. I was going to community college, trying to get my grades up, whatever. I made friends with a classmate, and he was like a kind of a quiet, shy guy. Seems like he was probably like on the spectrum or something. And he kept saying, oh, you got to come hang out at my dad's house in Rancho Santa Fe. It's so cool. I had never heard of Rancho Santa Fe. I didn't know what that was. And also my dog couldn't come. So I was like, okay, whatever, dude. I'm not going to drive 3 hours away to hang out at your dad's house. And he kept bugging me, like, every time I would see him, like, oh, no, like, you got to come. And we'd go to improv together and, like, do stuff. And he'd be like, you really got to go. And then all of his friends were like, dude, you have to fucking go see his dad's house in Rancho Santa Fe. And so finally, I was like, okay, whatever, we'll go. And I brought my girlfriend. It was literally a mansion. Like, we're talking tennis courts, guest house, probably like 15 to 20,000 square feet, outdoor kitchen. Like, this was like a $9 or $10 million home, at least. Probably now it's like 30 or 40. It was like acres of like landscaped, beautiful. There was a fucking yurt in the backyard where you could paint overlooking. And I remember asking him, I was like, dude, you didn't tell me you were rich. And he was like, well, it didn't really come up. And I was like, went in his stepmom's closet and I was just looking at all like these rows of designer shoes. And I was like, oh, and he was like, you should see her other closet. And I was like, this isn't even their house. And he was like, no, this is my dad's vacation house. Like, it's just one that he bought.
That's crazy.
And I was like, it was literally insane. But I remember him saying to me when we were in the yurt, he was like, see that over there? That's the ex-CEO of Nike or whatever. That's his house. And it was in Rancho Santa Fe. And I remembered that. It drilled into my brain. And now I'm thinking like, oh shit.
Damn.
I'm not going to say anything out loud. I'm not going to say anything. But it could be crazy. It could be crazy if someone said something.
Yeah, it could be pretty wild if somebody responded in a comment on this video saying something. But we would never say anything about anything, ever.
Not me.
Not I.
Could never be me.
Wow. Yeah. Who's to say? Who is to say about what may or may not have happened here?
I did reach out to my friend. This was a friend from, like 10 years, 13 years ago, something like that. So the one that was in Rancho Santa Fe. And I was like, hey, blank, like, this is Nat. We used to hang out at Santa Monica College. I had a Siberian Husky. We went to your dad's house.
Yeah, he for sure remembers you because I've met him before.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I think we're still Facebook friends. As soon as you said his name, I was like, that's who I was thinking of.
Okay, so I reached out to him and was like, would you, basically explaining who I was, sent an Instagram for Let's Get Haunted. Also made it clear that I'm not trying to hit on him because there was never any romantic connection between us ever. That never happened. And never was anything. So I don't want people to assume that. But I was like, yeah, I have a husband and 2 kids and I just do this paranormal podcast and I'd really love like an angle if you have one. Like, did you ever think it was haunted? Crickets.
Really?
So
that is surprising. I wonder if, you know what? Never mind. I was going to just start gossiping and that's not what the show was supposed to be at this point. Never mind.
I had talked to a different friend from that time in my life. Someone had called me like out of the blue, someone I hadn't talked to in a really long time, and I answered and I was like, hey, what's up? And he was like, hey, how's it going? Da-da-da. And I was like, that was kind of strange. And then I asked him at the end, I was like, have you talked to blank? Because, like, that's my homie. That's my esoteric homie, you know? Like, that was super fucking rich, and I never knew about it. And, like,
he was very
I thought
nice.
that was always just really cool.
Yeah,
he was cool. He was nice.
nice.
He was humble. He was a kind person. And he was like, last I heard, he, like, went to Tijuana. I don't know what he's doing now. But that was like him. He was kind of a seeker. Like, he was into this guy named Osha, who was, like, kind of a cult leader dude, and he was about that fucking cult life. And so it made me wonder, like, is there just an undercurrent in Rancho Santa Fe that's, like, happening, like, a cult thing going on? And, like, it's there. It's, like, underground.
Wow. Haunties, if you're listening to this and you have any experience with Rancho Santa Fe, please leave a comment below because I want to know. And I don't know anyone from there. And I am from California. I'm like going through the Rolodex in my mind of possible people who I might know that are kind of like hippie free spirits that may have gone there. And the only person I can think of, I have not spoken to in like 15 years. So I think it's a no-go, but I can't, I've never heard of Rancho Santa Fe. I do remember you telling me about this gentleman's dad's house, because I remember very vividly you describing the yurt that had an easel and that like people could paint and they could look at the view. And then there was a different time where you had invited him to go to something. We were doing some group activity. And then I remember saying to him, like, oh, I heard that you have like a yurt that like you can paint in. Like, that's so cool. Like, I would like never leave that yurt. I would just be there looking at a beautiful view and painting. And he was like, oh yeah, you know, I really got to have you and Nat come over. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, I want to see this cool place. And then it just never happened. This was an excellent episode. Really great job, Nat. And for anyone out there who maybe has stumbled upon us for the very first time with this episode, I think this is actually a great introduction to our show. So if you enjoyed this episode, definitely go ahead and subscribe. Take a chance on us. Hit subscribe, hit follow wherever you're listening right now, and keep on listening, because I think if you liked this episode, there's plenty more where that came from. Now it's time for our sign off, and we sign off the same way every single week. BRB, gotta go. Listen to some Oingo Boingo. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, it's me, Natalia, from another dimension. Welcome to the closing credits for episode 258. Wow, what a wild episode I told you all today. Me, Natalia Strawn, attorney at law. We talked about genitalia, we talked about comets, we talked about outer space, but no time to think too much on that. This month, we would love to give a warm, heartfelt thank you to our Patreon donors who donated to us in the month of February 2026. Letters F through M. F as in futuristic, and M as in meteor, which is like a comet, which is like the Hale Bopp comet. If you'd like to become a donor and hear your name shouted out on a future episode, head over to patreon.com/c/letsgethaunted, where you will not only get a shout out, but you'll also get access to episode extras, minisodes, bonus episodes, vlogs, personal hauntings, live streams, and much, much more. This week, we'd like to thank Felicia G, Felicia G, Fenrir U, Fox and Socks, Fred H, Freddie F, Fresh Zombie, Gabrielle, Gabriel, George's mom. Oh, that's cute. George's mom. I love that that's your name. Does George listen to our show too? Or did you just want us to know that your son's name is George? Ghost of 7-Eleven, Grandma Painter, Haley C, Haley D, Hannah Ray K, Haley G, Hannah, Hugo A, Hunter C, Hunter S, Ileana RN, Inky Pop Art, iPet Zombies, Isabel L, Isabella, It's Kelsifer, Ivan L, Yvonne L, Jackie L, Jacob C, JDKP, Jameet, Jamie F, Jane, Jasmine B, Jasmine C, Jason G, J M, Jelly D, Jen M, Jenna S, Jennifer C, Jennifer H.O., Jennifer L., Jennifer W., Jeremy S., Jesselyn, Jesse H., Joaquin E., John H., Jordan L., Julia C., Julia M., Julie C., Juliet H., Juliet H., Jupiter's Germ, Justin M.C., Justine D., Kate M., Cardon47, Cardon47, Karen H., Karen K., Corinna C., Karina C., Carly K., Carly M., Kat and Alice the Malice, Kat F., Catherine W., Katie K., Katie P., K to the Win, Kayla M., Kayla P., aka Kayak, Kelsey K., Kelsey L., Kelspiracy, Kindred and Amber, Kittenish Kate, Kitten, Burrito, Corky M., Christy B., Kristen K., Kylie K., Lacey M., Laura the Lauren, Lauren B., Lori, Lowry, Ladybug979, Leanna BC, Lena, Lena, Lex L., Lexi Norway, Lexi, are you from Norway? Do we have a Norwegian listener in here? Oh, I love that. Lexitronic, Lil Dilda, Lily Bones, Lily Bell, Lindsay M, Lindsay S, Lisa B, Lisa H, Lisa R, Liz K, Lizzie L, Lobo, Macklehorn, Mad Nej, Madeline, Maddie M, Maddie P, Madeline M, Madeline M, Mads, Maggie Bobaggy, Maja L, Maja L, McKenna P, Mandy, Mary C, Mariah C, Maria O, Mariah A, Mariana C, Mariana C, Maricela A, Marina W, Marina W, Maris G, Marquise C, Marchess C. Whew, you guys, I don't know why I'm so short of breath today. This is crazy. Marissa Jenna M, Marty F, Mateo NL, Matthew L, Matthew M, Maddie Joe, Max M, Mason G, Mazon G, Meg R, Mega Lantern, Megan M, Megan N, Mega Red, Megan D, Melanie H, Melissa B, Melissa G, Melissa H, Mellow 82, Mercy DM, Metal Pineapple, Miami Cat Mom, Micah Mika, Michael B, Michael S, Michael T, Michelle B, Mindy, Minnie W, Molly, Monica H, Monica R, Morgan Di, Mother of Frogs, My Unicorn Farts Rainbows, aka Jose P, and Misty. Oh my God. I, Natalia Strong, attorney at law, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Let's Get Haunted. If you're new here, welcome. We are so happy to have you. And we would even love to have you over there on Patreon. And if you do join our Patreon, you can expect to get your name shouted out breathlessly. Like I did today. I'll butcher your name. I'll pronounce it 17 different ways, hoping one of them is correct. And I do that all for you. We have such a great month of content, both on the public and private feed planned for you. I'm so excited. Allie, who's definitely not me, just finished an interview with a former Soviet cosmonaut who has some alien things to talk about. No time to explain. That's going to be coming out in either June or July, depending on when the translation of that interview gets finished, so that we can have the transcript and subtitles and voiceover and blah, 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 blah. My point is, we are moving in silence. In the words of Lil Wayne, real G's move in silence like lasagna. That's what we do over on the Patreon, and we are so excited to have you all here with us today. Now, it's time for something we like to call the secret password. What is the secret password, you may ask? You're about to find out. You're going to listen to me. I'm going to tell you what the secret password is, and you are going to write my words in the comments section of both Spotify for this episode and at Let's Get Haunted on Instagram for the photo dump of this week's episode. Each time you comment, a grand total of 2 times, once on Spotify, once on Instagram, those count for 2 entries into the end of the year raffle. What is the end of the year raffle? No time to explain. We give away really cool prizes to however many of you we feel like. Sometimes we do 2, sometimes we do 4, sometimes we do 6. You just have to enter and find out at the end of the year. And the odds are always in your favor because honestly, not that many people make it to the end of closing credits. Your secret password of this week's episode is castrate? More like that's great. See you guys next week. Bye.